So next we shall begin with another very important topic, that is the making of the constitution. So in the previous class we discussed about the historical background of the constitution. So before the arrival of the constitution, which were the various laws that were involved in the governing of India. But here we will see how the constitution got its shape. Okay, got its shape, and what is Constituent Assembly, who all were involved in making this constitution, and what were the various procedures involved, and how many days they sat. So all these things we will be discussing in this topic. Okay, in this topic. So here generally in this topic, wherever I use a term called as C, so it indicates constitution, and wherever I use CA, it indicates Constituent Assembly. So Constitution, Constituent Assembly. Okay. So what is Constituent Assembly? Group of members who discussed, debated, and finally brought the provisions of the constitution. Okay, brought the provisions of the constitution. So now when it comes to ordinary law, we say that it has to be passed by Lok Sabha, it has to be passed by Rajya Sabha. Then President has to give his signature, he has to sign it. Now during Constituent Assembly also there are group of members, let's assume around 300 members. So they will discuss among themselves, they will debate, and finally they will accept. They will say how many of you are okay with this provision, then they will raise their hands. So these kind of discussions will take place. But finally when constitution, the final signature was required, so all the people who are present over there, so more or less they signed the constitution. Okay, they signed the constitution. So we will be discussing later on. So here Constituent Assembly means group of people who are involved in debating, discussing, and formulating the provisions of the constitution. Okay, constitution. Okay. So already in the previous class also we saw who was the first person to propose the idea of Constituent Assembly. M.N. Roy. He was a communist. Okay, a pioneer of communist movement in India. In 1934, he put forth the idea of a Constituent Assembly for the first time. So even though we may secure independence, but once we secure independence, we require a law to govern our country. That is called as constitution. So in order to frame this constitution, we require a body called as Constituent Assembly, and this idea was first proposed by M.N. Roy. Okay, M.N. Roy. In 1935, Indian National Congress for the first time officially demanded Constituent Assembly. So again, this is also important. When did Indian National Congress officially demanded the Constituent Assembly for the first time? 1935. To whom did they demand? To Britishers. Okay, to Britishers. In 1938, Jawaharlal Nehru, on behalf of Indian National Congress, declared that constitution framed by Constituent Assembly, elected on adult franchise. It means the people who are present in this Constituent Assembly, so from where they should come from? They should be elected based on what? Adult franchise. Means all those who are eligible to vote above the 18 years of age, so they should vote in the election. So the people who get elected, such people should form Constituent Assembly and they should write the constitution. Okay. Again, this point is also important. Even though they were never asked, but there are very high chances that they may ask in the prelims. Okay. They may ask in the prelims. So here what we understood? In 1934, M.N. Roy. 1935, Congress officially demanded. 1938, Jawaharlal Nehru said, Constitution written by Constituent Assembly who are elected on the basis of adult franchise. Okay, adult franchise. Okay. August offer of 1940. So already we have come across this term called as August offer, but we have not discussed in detail. Again, we will be discussing in detail while discussing few of the remaining provisions of the modern history. So August offer, just we will retain the year 1940. So the August offer demand fully accepted through this by the British government. So through this August offer, British government, what did they accept? They accepted the Indian demand for Constituent Assembly. Okay, Constituent Assembly, and the members of this Constituent Assembly will be Indians. Okay, will be Indians. So this was accepted by the British through the offer which they made, that is called as August offer. Okay, August offer. In 1942, Stafford Cripps. So already we have discussed about the Cripps mission. So member of the cabinet, draft proposal. So he brought the proposal on framing of independent constitution after World War II. Okay, after World War II. So Cripps proposal rejected by Okay, here there is a small inconsistency when it comes to history books, but even in the multiple versions also they are not corrected. What we have seen, what was the reason for the failure of Cripps mission? Constituent Assembly, what? One is, yes, we were demanding full independence, they offered dominant status. Next one is, okay, one is Constituent Assembly members from princely states, they should come from election. Okay, our demand, they said by nomination. Third one is provision for partition of India. In fact, Congress rejected the idea, but here they mentioned Cripps proposal rejected by Muslim League, you just ignore it. Cripps proposal was rejected by India. Muslims League wanted India to be divided into two autonomous states with two constituent assemblies. Okay, two constituent assemblies. So here there is a bit inconsistency. You will not look into this. When it comes to Cripps mission, we will refer the history related facts. Okay, history related facts. So what we know, Cripps mission was rejected. Okay, Cripps mission was rejected, and we know the reasons for the failure of the Cripps mission. Next came the cabinet mission. In 1946 came the cabinet mission. It rejected the idea of two constituent assemblies. This is very important. So in the examination they may ask, so whether the cabinet mission accepted the idea of two constituent assemblies? No, it did not accept the idea of two constituent assemblies, but put forth a scheme of constituent assembly more or less satisfied Muslim League. But however, it put forth some ideas which satisfied the Muslim League. So what are those ideas? We will not discuss here. In history we will discuss. Okay, in history we will discuss. So from cabinet mission we shall understand that it rejected two constituent assemblies. Okay, two constituent assemblies, and the idea put forth by constituent assembly, sorry, cabinet mission was accepted by Muslim League as well. Okay, Muslim League as well. Now the constituent assembly was formed as a result of cabinet mission. Okay, so whatever the proposal was made in the cabinet mission, based on that proposal, what? Constituent assembly was formed. Okay, constituent assembly was formed. So when was constituent assembly formed? Constituted in November 1946 under the scheme formulated by the cabinet mission plan. So based on the scheme formulated by cabinet mission plan, constituent assembly was formed in November 1946. Features of the scheme. So it said that there should be total 389 members in the constituent assembly. There should be total 389 members in the constituent assembly. From British India, there should be 296 members, and from princely states, there should be 93 members. 296 plus 93, so it becomes 389. Okay, 389. So when we say British India, it means it includes governors' provinces and chief commissioners' provinces. Now, what is the difference between governor's province and the chief commissioner's province? Not important for us. Okay, not important for us. So, what we have to understand here is, when the constituent assembly was formed as per the cabinet mission plan, whether it had the representation of only provinces or also princely states. There was a representation of both princely states as well as provinces. Okay. So, I say generically I will use the term called as British India. So, it includes governor's provinces and chief commissioner's provinces. Now, from the exam point of view, often we get confused and we will be stuck there itself with respect to these values. Exact 389, 296, 292, okay, 93, these are not important. Okay, these are not important. So, if at all you want to retain the information, how you are going to retain? You will retain in this fashion. When it comes to British India, whether the total representation was more from the governor's provinces or chief commissioner's provinces? Governor's provinces. When it comes to representation in the constituent assembly, the representation was more from the princely states or from the governor's provinces. So in this fashion, relative things are important. So highest is governor's province, next is princely states, third one is chief commissioner's provinces. So if you write it in decreasing order, that would be sufficient. The value 389, 296, 292, none of them are important. So you remember approximately 400. Approximately 400. Okay, 400. Seat allocation. Okay, seat allocation. Each province and princely state or group of states, proportion to their population, roughly one seat to every million. Okay, every million. So what does it mean? So let's consider 2 or 3 provinces. So one is Bombay province. Okay, Bombay province. Next we shall take Bengal province. Okay, Bengal province. We shall take a princely state. For example, Mysore princely state. Mysore princely state. Travancore princely state. Okay, princely state. Okay. So let's assume the population in Bombay is 10 lakh. The population in Bengal is 20 lakh. Okay. So otherwise what I will do? I will do this as 20 lakh. I will take this as 40 lakh. Okay, 40 lakh. So Mysuru, let's assume population is 10 lakh. Travancore is 10 lakh. So approximately. Okay, approximately. So what does it say? So some representatives will come from provinces, some representatives will come from princely states as well. So what will be the representation? Proportion to the population. So for every 1 million, that is 10 lakh people, there should be one representative. So one representative will come from Mysuru to Constituent Assembly. One representative will come from Travancore to Constituent Assembly. How many representatives will come from Bombay? 2 representatives. How many representatives will come from Bengal? 4 representatives. So that is the meaning. Okay. Seat allocation, each province and princely state, proportion to their population. Okay, proportion to their population. Next, seats allocation to British provinces. Muslim, Sikhs and general, proportion to their population. Okay, proportion to their population. For example, if I take Bengal as an example, so it's a province, British province. So in Bengal, among the 40 lakhs, let's assume 20 lakhs are Hindus. Next, 10 lakhs 6. So Hindus I will leave. 10 lakh 6. Next, 10 lakh Muslims. Okay, Muslims. So it means among the 4 seats, at least 1 seat should be reserved for Muslim, 1 seat should be reserved for Hindus. Sorry, for Sikhs. Okay, rest all Hindus, they will come under general category. Okay, under general category. So again, this is an important provision. Seats allocation to British provinces. So here it is British provinces, not princely states. So here I have not used the term called as princely state. I use the term called as British provinces. Here, so proportion to their population, Muslim, Sikhs and general. So UPSC can frame a question to such a deeper level here. Okay, to such a deeper level here. Next, representatives of each community elected by the members of that community in the provincial legislative assembly. Okay, so what did you understand? To Constituent Assembly, already in the previous example we saw Bombay, Bengal, Mysuru, next is Travancore. Now from Bengal, how many went to Constituent Assembly? 4 members. Okay, 4 members. And we took the population of Bengal as 40 lakh. Okay, as 40 lakh. Now in Bengal, who elected these 4 people? Whether the common people of this country? No. In Bengal, there was a legislative assembly. In Bengal, there was legislative assembly. Let's assume in this legislative assembly, there are 200 members. Bengal legislative assembly or Bengal MLAs, there are 200 members. So these 200 members, they will elect 4 members and send to Constituent Assembly. So in this 200, let's assume 100 are Hindus. 100 are Hindus. And next 50 are, we should take 80 as Muslims, 20 as Sikhs. So already in the example we have seen how many Muslims will go? 1 Muslim. So in the previous example we saw, as per the proportion of the population, 1 Muslim should go. Now 1 Muslim, among these 4 people, 1 Muslim will go to Constituent Assembly. This one person, when it comes to election, whether one single person will contest, multiple members will contest. Let's take imaginary 3 examples. So Muslim member 1, Muslim member 2, Muslim member 3. So these 3 people will contest. Okay, these 3 people will contest in the election. So who will vote? Whether all the 200 members will vote? No. Only Muslims will vote for themselves. That is the provision here. So representatives of each community elected by the members of that community in the provincial legislative assembly. Okay, legislative assembly. So these 80 members, 80 Muslims who are present here, so they'll vote for them. Among these 3 members, one of them will win. Let's assume M2 will win and he will go to Constituent Assembly. He will go to Constituent Assembly. Now again, to make the understanding easier, I have written all these things. From exam point of view, such a deeper level of understanding is not required. What maximum they can ask? So whether the representatives of a particular province, only their community members should vote or all will vote? Only their community MLAs will vote. Okay, so this is important. Next, voting by PR, proportional representation, single transferable vote. So already we have discussed in the context of what presidential election. So you can just go back to that class. Otherwise, not important. Just you retain the information that proportional representation, single transferable vote. Next, representative of princely states, nominated by the heads of princely states. So in case of Mysuru and Travancore, who will elect them? They are not elected, they are appointed, they are nominated. They are nominated by kings. Nominated by kings. So from this what we understand, Constituent Assembly is a completely elected body. Yes or no? False. So it is partly elected and partly nominated. So nominated members came from where? Princely states. Elected members came from where? British India. Okay, British India consists of governors provinces and chief commissioners provinces. Okay, chief commissioners provinces. Members elected indirectly by members of the provincial assemblies, themselves elected on limited franchise. So in the example we saw, okay, so generally this statement is used to criticize the Constituent Assembly. When we took Bengal as an example, 4 members went from Bengal to Constituent Assembly. These 4 were elected by whom? MLAs. Okay, 200 MLAs of Bengal. But how were 200 MLAs elected? Whether all the people of the Bengal they participated? No. The franchise was limited based on property, based on taxes. It was limited. So it is used to criticize. Members elected indirectly by members of the provincial assemblies. In the examination, if you frame a statement, the members of the Constituent Assembly, those who were elected, they were elected directly. Those members of the Constituent Assembly who were elected, they were elected directly. True or false? False. They were elected indirectly. Indirectly by whom? Members of the provincial assemblies. Okay. How are the members of provincial assemblies elected? Elected on a limited franchise. So this can be used to criticize the Constituent Assembly. Okay, Constituent Assembly. Elections to the Constituent Assembly. So in the initial discussion we saw that Constituent Assembly was formed in November. But before the formation of the Constituent Assembly, elections are required, right? So who has to go? So this election process, it took place in July-August 1946. Okay. Again, these minute details are not important. What is important here is Constituent Assembly was finally formed in November 1946. Before that, obviously, election process will take place. So Indian National Congress won 208 seats. So this is a bit important. When the elections to Constituent Assembly were held, there were different parties. One is Indian National Congress, another one is Muslim League. Okay, and also there were independents as well. And the party which secured the highest number of seats was 208. Muslim League 73 seats. Independents and other small groups, they got 15 seats. Princely states 93 seats decided to stay away from the Constituent Assembly. They said that princely states, we are not going to send our representatives to the Constituent Assembly. We are not going to send our representatives to Constituent Assembly. Okay. From exam point of view, when we think, so what is important here? So in the elections held to the Constituent Assembly, which party secured the highest number of seats? Okay, Indian National Congress. So what were the approximate number of seats? Okay, 208. Okay, 208. Second was Muslim League. Okay. So Constituent Assembly not elected directly by the people of India. Now the Lok Sabha members are directly elected by the people of India. So similar to that, Constituent Assembly was not elected. Okay, it was elected indirectly, and also those indirectly, the people who voted in the indirect election, they were elected on a limited franchise. Okay, limited franchise. The people of India on basis of adult franchise. Okay, but it consisted of representatives of all sections. Even the Constituent Assembly was not elected directly, but still it consisted of representatives of all sections. In Constituent Assembly, we can find Hindus, we can find Muslims, Sikhs, Parsis, Anglo-Indians, Indian Christians, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, women of these sections. Okay, women of these sections. So this is generic information. It can be quoted in mains. Okay. So in the prelims, they are not going to frame a question like which all communities were represented in the Constituent Assembly. Option number 1, Hindus. Option number 2, Muslims. Option number 3, women. Okay. No. Such questions are not going to be framed. But out of curiosity, we have to retain the information from mains point of view. Included all personalities. So all the important personalities who were present at that time, so more or less they were part of the Constituent Assembly, except 2 personalities. One is M.K. Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Okay. So in the examination, if they frame a statement, generally they will not frame, especially UPSC will not frame. Okay. If they frame a statement, who among the following were part of the Constituent Assembly? Option number 1, Jawaharlal Nehru. Option number 2, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Option number 3, Mahatma Gandhi. Option number 4, someone else. So here what we will do? How many of the above are correct? Okay, we will use Mahatma Gandhi for elimination purpose. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah, they are not part of the Constituent Assembly, even though they are important personalities, but they are not part of the Constituent Assembly. Now, why they are not part of it? Those research we will do once we sit on the chair. Okay, after becoming an officer. Now it's not important. Okay, not important. So when was the Constituent Assembly formed? November 1946. So which party got the majority of the seats? Indian National Congress. Which was at the second position? Muslim League. Were there any independents? Yes. Which prominent personalities, or who are the prominent personalities who are not part of the Constituent Assembly? Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Mahatma Gandhi. Constituent Assembly first met on December 9, 1946. In November it was formed. On December 9, 1946 is first time it met. Muslim League boycotted. It did not attend the first meeting. Okay. Muslim League, it boycotted. Now, when it comes to preparation, often we feel that all the dates which are mentioned here, they are important. But they are not important. They are not important. As the Constituent Assembly is meeting for the very first time, out of curiosity, we will retain this information as well. Okay. Generally, UPSC will not focus, but we will retain the information. It was formed in November, and the first meeting took place on December 9, 1946. Muslim League boycotted. 211 members attended. So 208 of Congress and few other independents. So 211 members attended. Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, oldest member, was elected as temporary president of the Constituent Assembly. So this is important. So temporary, here president means not, we cannot compare him with the present day president. So here president means he is equivalent to present day speaker. Because when Constituent Assembly starts discussion, there should be someone sitting over here. So that person was Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, and he was elected as a temporary president, not permanent. Okay, temporary president. So this president position can be compared to present day chairman or speaker. Okay, chairman or speaker. Following French practice. So in France, whosoever is the oldest person, so he will be appointed as what? President. So similarly, they followed the French practice. Okay, French practice. Later, Dr. Rajendra Prasad elected as president. So who was the president of the Constituent Assembly? It is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Who was temporarily appointed as the president of the Constituent Assembly? Dr. Sachidanand Sinha. Okay, next, in some new versions of Lakshmikant, this information is present. So in older versions, it's absent. So H.C. Mukherjee and V.T. Krishnamachari, they were elected as vice presidents of the Constituent Assembly. Okay. So H.C. Mukherjee and V.T. Krishnamachari, they were elected as vice presidents of the Constituent Assembly. Okay, Constituent Assembly. So who are the 4 important names that we encountered here? The names: Sachidanand Sinha, Rajendra Prasad, H.C. Mukherjee, yes, V.T. Krishnamachari. Next, objectives resolution. So when we started writing the constitution, there should be some clear vision. So what kind of constitution we are going to bring? So an overall view was required. Okay, that overall view we call it as objectives resolution. Okay, objectives resolution. So Jawaharlal Nehru moved it in assembly on December 13, 1946. Now December 13 is not important. Okay, who moved the resolution, objective resolution in the Constituent Assembly? Important. Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, Jawaharlal Nehru. So what is objective resolution? It laid down the fundamentals and the philosophy of the constitutional structure. For example, our constitution should consist of fundamental rights. Our constitution should consist of directive principles of state policy. Our constitution should consist of a topic related to judiciary, Supreme Court and High Court. So these fundamentals were laid out in objective resolution. Okay, objective resolution. Fundamentals and philosophy of the constitutional structure was unanimously adopted on 22nd January 1947. So when it was adopted, 22 January 1947, this 22 also UPSC will not focus, not important. So whether the objectives resolution moved by Jawaharlal Nehru, whether it is adopted or not, yes, unanimously, no one opposed it. Okay, no one opposed it. It influenced the eventual shaping of the constitution through all its stages. So this objectives resolution, so eventually when they started writing the constitution, it had a positive influence or impact on the formation. Its modified version forms the preamble of the constitution. This is very important. So the modified version of objective resolution forms which part of the constitution? Option number 1, fundamental rights. Option number 2, fundamental duties. Option number 3, directive principles of state policy. Option number 4, preamble. Okay, preamble. So the keywords are objective resolution, Jawaharlal Nehru. Next, preamble. Preamble. So other things you just understand, not important. Okay, not important. So next, we saw the Indian Independence Act. So who passed the Indian Independence Act? British Parliament. Okay, British Parliament. So when was Indian Independence Act passed? Because Pakistan was opposing, it wanted its own nation. Hence Mountbatten came and Mountbatten Plan of June 3, 1947, partition of the country. Okay, partition of the country. Now before the Mountbatten Plan itself, Constituent Assembly was formed. Because it took place in 1947. In 1946, Constituent Assembly was already formed. Now representatives of princely states and members of the Muslim League from the Indian Dominion joined Constituent Assembly. What does it mean? So let's assume this is Pakistan, P, rest all part is India. When it comes to Muslim League, there are some Muslim, let's assume M1, M2, two people. So one person has been elected from this region, one person has been elected from this region. Now, who joined India's Constituent Assembly, M1 or M2? Yes, this is Pakistan. This person is representing Pakistan. This person is representing India. So who joined Constituent Assembly? Yes, representatives of princely states and the members of the Muslim League from the Indian Dominion. So those who are present in India, so representing India, so they joined Indian Constituent Assembly because there were now two Constituent Assemblies, one associated with Pakistan. So this person will join Pakistan's Constituent Assembly. This person from India, he joined India's Constituent Assembly. Okay, Constituent Assembly. So representatives of princely states. So princely states also now they joined Constituent Assembly, and also the members of Muslim League from India, they also joined Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly. Act made the following changes. So already we have discussed, Constituent Assembly made fully sovereign, frame any constitution it pleased, empowered Constituent Assembly to abrogate or alter any law made by the British Parliament in relation to India. In previous topic we saw. Next, this is important. Constituent Assembly also became a legislative body. So the job of Constituent Assembly is to frame the constitution, write the provisions of the constitution, discuss the provisions of the constitution. But at the same time, we require ordinary laws. For example, Marriage Act, okay, Environment Protection Act. These are examples of ordinary law. So during the 3-year period, the same Constituent Assembly also became the Parliament of Free India. The Parliament of Free India. So when we say Parliament, we have the picture of Lok Sabha, Raj Sabha and President. But before 1950, the Constituent Assembly itself acted as Parliament of Free India. Okay, Free India. So Parliament of Free India of Dominion Legislature continued till 26 January 1949 when the making of the Constitution was over. Okay. So now these two things are important. The same group of what, around 300 members, they'll meet to write constitution. It will be called as Constituent Assembly. Now the same group of 300 people, now they will join, sit at some time to write ordinary law. Okay, ordinary law. When they meet as a constituent body to write the constitution, it was chaired by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. When the same 300 people, they met to enact an ordinary law. So who presided it? G.V. Mavlankar. Okay, important. So why did they do like that? Why Dr. Rajendra Prasad himself did not act as the chairman during the normal law also? That is beyond the scope of our discussion. Okay, we shall just assume that or understand that when it met as a constituent assembly, constituent body, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was its chairman. When it met as an ordinary legislative body, G.V. Mavlankar was the chairman. Muslim League members from Pakistan area withdrew from the Constituent Assembly. So those who are from the Pakistan, they came out of the Constituent Assembly. So total strength 389. As per the cabinet mission, it was reduced to 299. Okay, 299. So from princely provinces it is 229 and princely states is 70. So this figure is important. So the number of people involved in the writing of the Constitution, Indian Constitution, were 299. Okay, 299. So provinces 229, princely states 70. You ignore all the other facts. You just retain this content. 299 members were involved in the writing of the Indian Constitution. Okay, writing of the Indian Constitution. So already we have seen two functions which were performed by Constituent Assembly. One is writing the Constitution, okay, by meeting as a constituent body. Another one is enacting ordinary laws by meeting as a what? Parliament, okay, as a parliamentary body. Apart from that, it was also involved in some other activities. It ratified India's membership of the Commonwealth in 1949. So it means India is going to remain a member of the Commonwealth. Okay, it ratified its membership in 1949. Okay, 1949. Adopted the national flag on 22 July 1947. So here the exact date is important. July 22, 1947. Okay, national flag was adopted. Adopted national anthem on January 24, 1950. Adopted national song on January 24, 1950. Okay, 1950. Next, elected Dr. Rajendra Prasad as the first president of India on January 24, 1950. So who was the first president of India? Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Here president means not speaker. The present president, whatever we have, the same position, the first president of India was Dr. Rajendra Prasad. He was elected on 24 January 1950. So this information is important. When it comes to UPSC, it focuses to a very deeper level when it comes to national flag, to a very deeper level when it comes to national anthem and national song. Okay, already we are aware. For example, if you say national anthem written by Rabindranath Tagore, national song Chatterjee. Originally it was present in which book? Anand Math made famous which revolt? Yes, Sannyasi Rebellion. So in this format, UPSC will go to a deeper level when it comes to national song, national anthem and all. Okay, national anthem and all. Time consumed. What was the time consumed to frame the constitution? 11 sessions. Okay, 11 sessions which spread over 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. Okay. So in the prelims, there are very rare chances that they will ask, but from the mains point of view, it is very important. So how much time was consumed? So what do? You please memorize this content. 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. Okay, approximately close to 3 years. Close to 3 years. So constitutions referred of 60 countries. So close to 60 different countries constitutions were referred to frame this, to enact this constitution. Draft constitution considered for 114 days. Okay, amount spent rupees 64 lakh. So 64 lakh may not be a great figure now, but at that time itself they spent 64 lakhs on the enacting of the constitution. So for 114 days they considered not important. Okay, not important. On January 24, 1950, Constituent Assembly held its final session. So this is important. When did the Constituent Assembly meet for the very first time? December 9, 1946. When did the Constituent Assembly meet for the last time? January 24, 1950. However, continued as provincial parliament from January 26, 1950 till the parliament formation after general election in 1950 and 52. So this is important. On January 24, 1950, last time it met as a constituent body. But again it continued in office as a what body? As a parliament to make ordinary laws. Okay, to make ordinary laws. Next, committees of the parliament, committees of the Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly. So what we discussed? We saw when was the Constituent Assembly formed? November 1946. So before that election took place, so the majority party which got the seats was Indian National Congress. Second was Muslim League. So next, after Indian Independence Act, so Pakistan, the people belonging to people of Muslim League from partition region, they went to Pakistan. So totally how many members were there as part of the Constituent Assembly now? 299. Okay, 299. Next we saw that the Constituent Assembly met as a both legislative body as well as a constitutional body. Next we will be looking about the various committees of the Constituent Assembly. Okay. So while discussing Parliament, we have seen various committees, if you can recall. We have seen Estimates Committee, we have seen Public Accounts Committee. So why were these committees formed? To what? Divide the labor. Means whatever the work should be done, it should be divided among multiple personalities so that the work can be what? Smoothly facilitated, or work can be completed in a smooth manner. Okay, smooth manner. Similarly, in order to ensure that division of labor, okay, division of labor, so various committees were formed. So these committees generally they consisted of members of the Constituent Assembly itself. Okay, Assembly itself. Now, when it comes to examination, okay, when it comes to examination, for example, see here we have major committee and also minor committees. Okay, minor committees. Now there are so many committees and also the chairman of each and every committee. So from the exam point of view, we need to understand that each and every committee and the corresponding chairman is not important. Because at the time of examination, you will get confused because so many names you have to memorize. It's practically, it becomes very difficult. So hence, wherever I am emphasizing, you please note that those names or those committees will not be important. Okay, will not be important. Now in the examination, they are not going to ask which of the following were the committees formed as part of the Constituent Assembly. No, they are not going to frame such kind of question. What they can frame is, who was the chairman of the drafting committee? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Among the various committees, the one important committee is a drafting committee. Okay, so drafting committee was involved in preparing the draft, and the chairman of the drafting committee was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. This is a very important committee. Okay, important committee. So we have to retain this information. Now, when it comes to Union Powers Committee, Union Constitution Committee, okay, so these are not important. These are not important. Even though they are chaired by Jawaharlal Nehru also, they are not important. Otherwise, if you are bit scary to leave this content, you can just memorize it. So Union Powers Committee and Union Constitution Committee was chaired by Jawaharlal Nehru. Provincial Constitution Committee, Sardar Patel. Again an important personality. Again this information also appears important. Okay, but UPSC will not focus, but still retain this content as well. Provincial Constitution Committee, Sardar Patel. Union Constitution Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, Jawaharlal Nehru. Union Powers Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru. Now what Union Powers Committee will do, what Union Constitution Committee will do, what Provincial Constitution Committee will do, will not go into those aspects. Okay, will not go into those aspects. Next, Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities and Tribals and Excluded Areas, Sardar Patel. Okay, Sardar Patel. Again it had what? 5 subcommittees. Fundamental Rights Subcommittee, Minorities Subcommittee, Northeastern Frontier Tribal Areas and Assam Excluded, Partially Excluded Areas Subcommittee, Excluded and Partially Excluded Areas Subcommittee, Northwestern Frontier Tribal Areas Subcommittee. Now what we will do, we will not retain all this information. How we are going to retain the information? Only like this. So whether H.C. Mukherjee was part of the Constituent Assembly? Yes. Whether J.B. Kriplani was part of the Constituent Assembly? Yes. We are not going to associate J.B. Kriplani with Fundamental Rights Subcommittee. because if you do this, the information overburden will increase. You will not be able to connect later on. Okay, you will not be able to connect later on. Just you will retain that J.B. Kripalani was part of the Constituent Assembly. Okay, Constituent Assembly. We will not focus here also. Here also we will not focus. We will not retain the content. Next, H.C. Mukherjee was part of the Constituent Assembly. Next, Gopinath Bardoloi was part of the Constituent Assembly. We will ignore the other content. Okay. So if at all you feel like preparing that content as well, so once you are done with all the subjects, including polity, history, geography, etc., then you can come back to this content. Otherwise, you will ignore it. Okay. Here also A.V. Thakkar. Okay, A.V. Thakkar. So just ignore all this information. Okay. Ignore all this information. So here they are not mentioned about the chairman. So completely ignore it. Rules of Procedure Committee. Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Okay, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. So as Dr. Rajendra Prasad was also the first president of India, so if you want you can just connect it. Rules of Procedure Committee, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. States Committee, okay, Committee for Negotiating with States, not important, okay, not important. Just we will retain that Jawaharlal Nehru was part of the Constituent Assembly. Steering Committee, so this again a bit important committee, you just retain the information, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the chairman of Steering Committee. So will you be able to recall the important committees that we discussed here? Drafting Committee, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Next, Union Constitution Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru. Provincial Constitution Committee, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Who are the other personalities whom we listed here and they are part of the Constituent Assembly? J.B. Kripalani, H.C. Mukherjee, yes, Gopinath Bardoloi, A.V. Thakkar. Okay, that's it. That's it. Next, when it comes to minor committees, I am not going to focus on any of these committees. You just completely ignore this. You will ignore this, you will ignore this, you will ignore this, you will ignore this, completely ignore. Okay. But what we will focus here is Dr. Rajendra Prasad, we are already aware, he is part of the Constituent Assembly. Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, important, he was also part of the Constituent Assembly. Pattabi Sitaramaya, part of the Constituent Assembly. Where did we come across Pattabi Sitaramaya? During the discussion of which history related topic? Yes, from crisis from Tripoli to Cripps Mission. So Pattabi Sitaramaya, he contested in election against whom? Subhash Chandra Bose. He was whose candidate? Gandhiji's candidate. Okay. Dr. K.M. Munshi. So you focus on these names. Okay. Important. How you will focus? They are part of Constituent Assembly. You are not going to focus like Credentials Committee, House Committee. No. So what I am trying to do here is reduce your effort. Because at the end moment I am telling you there is a hell lot of content, you will not be able to even open the pages of these chapters. At that time, rather than skipping the entire topic, if you are aware of the exam demand, you will focus only on those personalities. Okay, you will focus only on those personalities. So House Committee, not important. Pattabi Sitaramaya, K. Munshi. So already we have seen about Rajendra Prasad. G.V. Maulandkar also already we have seen. Where? When it met as a what? Parliament, who was the chairman? G.V. Maulandkar. Next, okay. Here I explicitly mentioned, it's not present in book. Out of curiosity I mentioned. So ad hoc committee on the Supreme Court. Yes, Varadachari. So this committee is not important, but he is not an assembly member, very important. Even though he was part of the committee, he was not part of the Constituent Assembly, very important. Similarly here, Nalini Ranjan Sarkar, not a member of Constituent Assembly. Again, this committee is not important. Linguistic Provinces Commission, S.K. Dar, not a assembly member. So these personalities name you just please retain. Who are they? S.K. Dar, Nalini Ranjan and yes, Varadachari. They are part of some committees, but they are not members of Constituent Assembly. They are not members of Constituent Assembly. Next, Usha Nath Sen, part of the Constituent Assembly. Varadachari repeated, not part of Constituent Assembly. Not part of Constituent Assembly. So will you be able to recall the important personalities who are part of the Constituent Assembly? Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Jawaharlal Nehru, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, J.B. Kripalani, yes, Pattabi Sitaramaya, yes, H.C. Mukherjee, yes, Thakkar, no, he is not a member of Constituent Assembly. Next, yes, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Gopinath Bardoloi, Okay, in this fashion, if you retain the information, it will be more beneficial. Okay, it will be more beneficial. When it comes to other committees, we will not go into a deeper level. Means what did that committee do? What did the Union Constitution Committee do? It's not important. But when it comes to drafting committee, it's a very important committee because the entire constitution was drafted by this team, and this team was led by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So this is very important. So when was drafting committee constituted? August 29, 1947. So Constituent Assembly was formed in November 1946, but drafting committee was formed in August 1947 after getting independence. Okay, after getting independence. So if you want, I will urge you to retain this information as well. August 29, 1947. Even though they are not going to ask, otherwise how you will retain? In the month of August after getting independence in 1947. So there were 7 members who were part of the drafting committee. Okay, 7 members of the drafting committee. Who are they? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, N. Gopalaswamy Iyer, Iyengar, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Dr. K.M. Munshi, Syed Mohammad Sadadullah, N. Madhav Rao, T. Krishnamachari. Okay, so N. Madhav Rao was replaced by B.L. Mittal resigned due to ill health. Sorry, N. Madhav Rao replaced whom? B.L. Mittal. So previously B.L. Mittal was there, he was replaced by N. Madhav Rao because of ill health and all. Krishnamachari, he replaced D.P. Kaitan. Previously D.P. Kaitan was there, so D.P. Kaitan was replaced by T.T. Krishnamachari. Okay, so you will ignore these names. So N. Madhav Rao and T. Krishnamachari, they are important. In the examination they may ask. So they may give you the names of multiple personalities and they may frame a question like who among the above were part of the drafting committee. Okay, to address such kind of questions very confidently, you need to be able to recall all the names. Already we are well aware of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, so we should be able to similarly recall the names of other personalities. N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Dr. K. M. Munshi, Syed Mohammad Sadadullah, N. Madhav Rao and T.T. Krishnamachari. So out of curiosity I have added this information, but not important, you just ignore it. Okay, not important, ignore it. So first draft was published in 1948. People of India given 8 months time to discuss and propose amendments. Now whenever a law has been passed in India, even today, so generally what they will do, they will publish it in the Gazette, so that the people of India can discuss and they can comment on the same. Okay. Similarly, the first draft was published in February 1948, so that the people of this country could study the draft and they can give their recommendations. Okay. But from exam point of view, it is not important. They are not going to frame a question like when was the first draft of the Indian Constitution published. Not important from exam point of view. Okay. Not important. Second draft published in October 1948. Not important. Took less than 6 months to prepare draft. Not important. Okay, because you also need to understand, because unnecessarily if you waste your time there, then you will not be able to make progress to the next topics. Okay, next topics. Enactment of the Constitution. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar introduced the final draft in the Constituent Assembly on November 4, 1948, first reading. Okay, see again there are so many dates, you will get confused and it will start appearing for a fresher that every date is important. So this is why the outsiders, those who are not preparing for the competitive civil service examination, they feel the exam is very tough, especially in the context of history and polity, because they think that they have to retain a lot of information pertaining to these years. But UPSC, it will not focus much on the years. Okay, it will not focus much on the years and date. Okay, especially date, it will not focus. So here, November 4, 1948, actually it is not important. What we need to understand here is who introduced the final draft in the Constituent Assembly? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So max to max what they can ask, in which year? 1948. Okay, you just ignore it. Okay. Again, if you feel it is important and if you want to become perfect and master in polity, then you can go ahead. But from the exam point of view, not important. So general discussion for 5 days, not important. Second reading. So this is first reading, second reading, not important. Okay, not important. There were so many amendments proposed, actually discussed. Okay, again this is also not important. This line by line information is not important because we are not going to become a constitutional expert or constitutional historian. So we are expected to become jack of all the subjects. Okay. So similarly we need to become jack of the making of the constitution. We need not become an expert, we'll ignore it. Okay, we'll ignore it. Because see, framing a question is very easy. I can easily frame a question. So when was the second reading of the draft constitution take place? From which date to which date? So framing of questions is very easier. But that will unnecessarily increase the burden, and that burden, it is burden itself, it is not going to be any way relevant for the examination. So hence this content you have to ignore. Okay. So first final draft was introduced in the Constituent Assembly by whom? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. In which year? 1948. Okay, that's it. Third reading. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar moved the motion, the Constitution as settled by the Assembly be passed. So in the third reading itself, the Constitution, the draft was considered and it was passed. Okay, it was passed. That is, it became an act, or it came into force. So declared as passed on November 26, 1949. So when was our Constitution passed? 26 November 1949. Okay, 49. Received signature of the members. 284 members were present and the President. So among the 299 members, 284 members were present and they signed. Okay. So these 284 members, they wrote the fate of the India, because everything works as per the Constitution. So 284 members finally signed the Constitution on November 26, 1949. Contained 395 articles initially and 8 schedules. So this is important. Our initial Constitution, it consisted of 395 articles and 8 schedules. So presently how many articles we have? 400 plus approximately. We are not interested in the exact value. Okay, exact value. And how many schedules? 12 schedules. Okay, 12 schedules. So when it comes to considering of draft, which is the important information? Who all were part of the drafting committee? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar, Alladi Krishna Swamy Iyer, K. M. Munshi, Krishnamachari, Sadadullah, next, Syed Muhammad Sadadullah, yes, N. Madhav Rao, one more is left. Or, okay. So the final draft was introduced in the Constituent Assembly by whom? Okay. When it was considered for passage, during which reading? First reading, second reading or third reading? Third reading. It was considered for passage. It was passed on which day? November 26, 1949. So how many members signed on it? 284. What was the total strength? 299. Okay, 299. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar played a very important role. He is recognized as the father of the Constitution of India. He is recognized as the father of the Constitution of India. He is also called as the chief architect of the Constitution of India. And some of them, they also refer to him as modern Manu. Okay. So Manu means Manusmriti. So the laws of Hinduism. So he is also called as what? Modern Manu. Okay, modern Manu. So some provisions came effect on November 26, 1949 itself. So some of the provisions of the Constitution, they came into force on the same day. So for example, citizenship related, elections related, provisional parliament. So all of them, they came in force on the same day, November 26, 1949. Remaining part came into force on 26 January 1950. Okay. So generally question, why not November 26, 1949? Why January 26 itself? So January 26, all the other remaining part of the Constitution, it came into force and it is celebrated as Republic Day. So this reason is important. Why this reason is important? On January 26, 1950, because in 1930, Purna Swaraj was celebrated. On which day? January 26. Okay. Following the resolution of the Lahore session of the Indian National Congress of 1929. So we know that the Purna Swaraj resolution was adopted in which session of INC? 1929. Right. So who was presiding it? Jawaharlal Nehru. As the result of this, in 1930 on January 26, they had celebrated the day as Purna Swaraj. Okay, Purna Swaraj. To commemorate that day, rather than taking November 26, 1949, they took a date of 26 January 1950, so that 1930 January 26 day can be commemorated. Okay, commemorated. Okay. So what we understood, few provisions came into force on the same day, that is November 26, 1949, and all the other provisions, they came into force on 26 January 1950, and the day is celebrated as Republic Day. Okay, Republic Day. With the commencement of the Constitution, Indian Independence Act, Government of India Act 1935, with all the enactments amending or supplementing the later act were repealed. Okay, so all were repealed. Okay, repealed. The abolition of Privy Council jurisdiction continued. So we have come across a term called as Privy Council. Do you remember where? During the discussion of Supreme Court. So now which is the highest court of appeal? Supreme Court. But before, which was the highest court of appeal? Privy Council. If you are not satisfied with the Supreme Court also, you can go to Privy Council. now the Privy Council has been abolished. Okay, but in 1950 they did not abolish the Privy Council. Abolition of Privy Council jurisdiction continued. Okay, continued. Now here, out of curiosity, question will be, when was the jurisdiction of Privy Council ended in India? They are not given here. So out of curiosity, what you will do? You will search this information. Because during the discussion of Supreme Court, we have already seen that what Privy Council has been abolished. But here what we are seeing, it continued. So our question is, then when it was abolished? When was the Privy Council abolished? Okay, abolished. That you have to search. You cannot make a just wild guess. Okay. So here, expert committee of the Congress. Some information they have given, that too in the old version it was missing, in the new version it is present. So Congress party appointed this committee on July 1946 for the purpose of preparing material for the Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly. So what I will do is, I will not burden you with this information. I will urge you to completely ignore this information. Completely ignore the information. If at all accidentally one question appears in the prelims also, even if you miss it, it is okay. Because there is so much of information, I am sure UPSC is not going to focus on these aspects. Okay, on these aspects, you will completely ignore it. Okay, otherwise retaining is very tough. Asaf Ali, all the members retaining the information of each and every member, it will be practically not possible. So just ignore this information. Later on, chairman's proposal, it was resolved that the Krishna Kriplani be co-opted as a member and the convener of the committee. Not important. So criticism of the Constituent Assembly can be used in the context of mains. Why the Constituent Assembly is criticized? Not a representative body. So it was truly not a representative body. Why it was truly not a representative body? Members not directly elected. Okay, on the basis of universal elite franchise. So hence it was not a truly representative body. Okay, members they were elected but indirectly elected, and who voted in the elections? Provincial Legislative Assembly members, and they themselves were elected on a limited franchise. Okay, limited franchise. So not a sovereign body. So why not a completely sovereign body? Created by the proposals of the British government. This Constituent Assembly was created as an end result of cabinet mission plan. Okay, means someone else was responsible for its formation. Hence they use this as a criticism to say that it is not a completely sovereign body. Okay, sovereign body. Assembly held its sessions with the permission of the British government. So assembly sessions were held with the permission of the British government. Hence it was not sovereign. Time consuming. Too long time. American Constitution was completed in just 4 months, but Indian Constitution 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. Okay, 18 days. Dominated by Congress. So because majority of people who won in the election, they belong to Congress. Hence it was dominated by Congress. So lawyer politico domination. Hence bulky and complicated language. So if you look at the original Constitution, it will be very difficult for us to understand. Okay, we should be very much thankful to Lakshmikant. He has reduced all the complicated things and he has made it easier. Even those easier things also, it is difficult for us to understand. Again, we require someone's support. So the complicated was made complex because of the lawyers and politicians. Okay, lawyers and politicians. Suppose if today a software engineer was supposed to write the Constitution, then it would have been entirely different. Okay, because it would have been very, very crispy. But it has been made complicated because of the domination of lawyers and politicians. Okay, politicians. And again, another criticism is it was dominated by Hindus. Important facts, I don't know to what extent they are important. So if you look at the previous year trend, they have never asked such kind of question. So out of curiosity, I will leave it to your wisdom whether to retain the information or not. Okay. Elephant was adopted as a symbol, seal of Constituent Assembly. Okay. Constituent Assembly also used the seal, and which was the symbol adopted? Elephant. Sir B.N. Rao appointed as a legal advisor to Constituent Assembly. Who was the legal advisor to Constituent Assembly? B.N. Rao. So whether B.N. Rao was part of the Constituent Assembly? Okay, probably when you say this is legal advisor, he may be an external entity. So here you have to ask such kind of questions and you have to search in the internet whether B.N. Rao was part of the Constituent Assembly or not. Okay, probably not. Probably not. So H.E.R. Iyengar, Secretary to Constituent Assembly. S.N. Mukherjee, Chief Draftsman of the Constitution in Constituent Assembly. So probably he was the person who was involved in typing and all. Okay, typing and all. Prem Bihari Narayan Raizada, calligrapher of the Indian Constitution. So originally the Indian Constitution was written. So the calligrapher was Prem Bihari Narayan Raizada. The original Constitution was handwritten by him in a flowing italic style. Okay, the flowing italic style. So again I have not included here, not important. The original version was beautiful and decorated by artists from Shanti Niketan, including Nandalal Bose and Bihar Ram Manohar Sinha. So they made it more beautiful. So again, when it comes to UPSC, they have never focused on such aspects. I leave it to you. Okay, at the end of the moment, if you do not have time, you will ignore all these things. Okay, ignore all these things. So Bihar Ram Manohar Sinha illuminated, beautified and ornamented the original preamble calligraphed by Prem Bihari Narayan Raizada. So don't go into detailed aspects. So these personalities, they are involved in making the constitution or preamble look what beautiful. Okay, look beautiful. The calligraphy of the Hindi version of the original constitution was done by Vasant Krishna Vaidya. So he is also involved in making it look beautiful. Decorated, illuminated Nandalal Bose. So all the personalities, what you do is you just retain the names of the personalities. Nandalal Bose, Vasant Krishna Vaidya, Prem Bihari Narayan Raizada, and Bihar Ram Manohar Sinha. So all were involved in making the constitution appear beautiful. That's it. Okay. In decorating the constitution. Decorating the constitution. Hindi text of the constitution. Originally, constitution did not make any provision with respect to an authoritative text of constitution in Hindi language. So originally constitution was written in English. It was not present in Hindi. Okay, it was not present in Hindi. 58th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1987 made provisions for this. Okay, so through 58th Constitutional Amendment Act, they said that constitution print should also exist in Hindi. So inserted 394A in part 22. Okay, part 22, President shall cause to be published under his authority. So it means a constitution should also be published in Hindi as well. So even though they are not asked, but in the context of current developments that are going on as part of the current affairs, so you please retain this information. Okay, 58th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1987, 394A in part 12, part 22, it says that President should publish the constitution in Hindi language as well. Hindi language as well. Okay. So Indian provinces. So in the book, what they have done is they have given the list of all the provinces. So all the information you cannot retain. Out of curiosity, I have just extracted few important elements. What are they? Indian provinces, large 5 at that time. United provinces, Madras, Bihar, Bombay, West Bengal. Only top 5 provinces are focused. So it consisted of 55 members. That is 55 members from United provinces, they went to Constituent Assembly. 49 members from Madras went to Constituent Assembly. 36 from Bihar went to Constituent Assembly. 21 from Bombay went to Constituent Assembly. 19 from West Bengal went to Constituent Assembly. So they are also given of the others provinces as well, but I have ignored them. Princely states, I focused only on large 2. Mysore, from Mysuru 7 members went to Constituent Assembly, and from Travancore 6. Okay, 6. So with this we have concluded another very important topic called as making of the constitution. So wherever I asked you to ignore, for example when it comes to committees and all, you please ignore that part, so that at the end moment it should help you for fast revision. Okay, fast revision. So with this we shall conclude the topic called as making of the constitution.